If you want to support the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Tricks Ridiculous back with another video, and I've got my very first build guide for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is a build I have been working on since launch, or I should say early access. This is my grenade Harley build, all right? So it's very much focused on grenades, grenade damage, grenade cooldown, getting more grenades, all this stuff. It is the grenade build, right? And it's mostly focused around the Bane set. So I'm going to kind of go through the gear, the skill tree, explain why I'm using what you could do if you don't have these pieces, what you could potentially use instead to get you an idea, because I don't think this build is overly complex, and it's certainly not really hard to get the gear for. All of this gear is pretty free-flowing, other than obviously getting like the master versions of them. So I'm going to go through all of that, and then as usual, I'll end the video with some gameplay and kind of show you how the build works. Before we get into it, be sure to like the video and subscribe if you want more Suicide Squad endgame content and build guides, because that's what I'm going to be bringing you. But let's jump right into it. Now, really the key to this, you'll notice we're using 3 tier 1 Bane sets and 3 of the tier 2, right? So I think those are the best for this build. I had to kind of, make some sacrifices on certain things, but I think getting all 3 perk pieces for the 3 set bonuses are do make it worth it to use some of the pieces we're using. So I'll just go down the gear here, right? So I'm using a master snapshot. It's a tier 1. I don't use this gun primarily. This is mostly used for longer ranges. One of the weaknesses of this build is kind of snipers, helicopters, things like that can get annoying because it is mostly a close range kind of crowd control build. So the snapshot, I only really use it if I'm looking to kind of pick someone off or get some damage in on a helicopter. So in that case, you can see my roll here, crit hit chance, crit hit damage. That's really all you want. I have a little firearm damage when the mag is over 50%, but this gun comes with 33 in the mag, so totally fine. As far as what else you could use in this slot, just another tier 1 piece. It's really mostly there, for the Bane 3 set. It's kind of just an extra slot to get us to that tier 3. But mostly we're going to be using the death rattle here. This is going to be our primary source here, is using our SMG, right? For this, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, pretty straightforward. And then, when you have the 3 set piece, so some of you may already know this, some of you may not, but basically melee hits on an enemy give you a 50% chance to craze it and a 50% chance to drop grenade ammo. Obviously, grenades are our big thing. Crit hits on crazed enemies give a 100% chance of spawning a rage zone. When you pick it up, you essentially get 100% damage dealt for 20 seconds. And then the 3 slot, which is really important for our build, is it also increases grenade damage by 200%, and each enemy killed with a grenade while Bane's Rage is active will refresh the Bane's Rage and add a 30% chance of dropping grenade ammo, all right? And then we pair that with the tier 2, which works very similarly, right? Increases kind of our craze duration by 10 seconds, and enemies you craze now deal 20% more damage for each 1% of health they are missing, and slowly build their craze back up as they deal damage. So they really stay in that craze for quite a while. And then you deal 1% more damage for each 1% of health that the enemy is missing. Okay, just a flat damage bonus, can't complain about that. But then the 3 piece is where it gets crazy, right? So when you kill a crazed enemy, or an enemy you crazed kills another enemy, you trigger a stack of Bane's Wrath. So it's 60 seconds long on this, and it increases the damage you deal by 50% up to a maximum of 750. And there's a 50% chance to trigger Bane's Wrath when you craze an enemy that's below 100% health, which also happens all the time. So pretty common for us to kind of be stacking this up, because we're going to be killing tons and tons of crazed enemies. Basically just going to be a 750% flat damage boost across the board. So come on. I mean, really, really important to have that 3-piece set. All right. Now, for our kind of villain synergies and other important pieces here, we're using the Two Faces Persuader. So this gives us the True Face of Fury, synergy bonus. Basically, shield harvesting enemies now gives you a 100% chance of dropping grenade ammo and increases grenade damage by 100% for 20 seconds. So I think you could see where I'm going with this build, right? Basically, everything you do is spawning more grenades, giving you more grenade damage, just giving you more flat damage against crazed enemies and effectively crazing enemies, right? The Two-Faced Persuader also has every melee hit on a crazed enemy has a 50% chance to drop either a live grenade or grenade ammo at the enemy's feet, right? So really insane. And of course, you pair that with the Bane's Rage 1 set. Each melee hit has a 50% chance to craze it and drop 50% chance to drop to craze it and 50% chance to drop grenade ammo. So every melee hit you get is going to be dropping grenade ammo. It's going to be dropping live grenades. It's going to be crazing enemies. It's going to be doing everything we want. So really, the focus around this build is it's going to be primarily grenades, craze affliction, and melee hits, which include shield harvesting. And then the other kind of piece of it, all of our abilities are going to be coming off cooldown pretty quickly. You're going to see we're going to be doing a lot of suicide strikes. So really all of that, really the guns are kind of the last thing we use. We really only use the guns to get that Bane's Rage kind of spawn zone. And then once you have it the first time, you're not going to really need to do much else because every grenade kill is going to refresh it, right? So you really only need to pick that up once. Past that, I've gone entire incursions where I barely shoot a bullet and I'm mostly just throwing grenades, shield harvesting, meleeing, and that's it, right? Now for the grenade, we're using the Panadura cocktail. This one I really went back and forth. You might be saying to yourself, Trix, are you nuts? Why aren't you using the bang grenade? And the bang grenade, if you don't know, gives you a 500% increase in damage. Mine's called the Demolisher for some reason, but gives you that 500% increase in damage and 100% bigger explosion radius, but you're limited to carrying one. It looks like a giant nuke when it goes off. And to be honest, I was using this grenade for quite a while, but I found that using the Panadura cocktail, which is admittedly worse than the bang grenade, is still better because of the villain, because of the Bane 3 set, right? If we took this off, we wouldn't get that 3-piece bonus, and unfortunately, we can't get it anywhere else. Where limited traversal mods do not come in set mods, so we have to use a legendary there. And then that essentially leaves us with 6 other slots because we can't take off the Two-Faces Persuader. That's also mandatory to the build, right? So if you don't have this, you can use the bang grenade, or if you're working towards this build, you can use the bang grenade in its place until you get it. It will still be a fine build, even if you went 2-piece plus a bang grenade and then you had the full 1-piece or the tier 1 full 3 set of Bane. It'll still be a fine build. You'll still be able to climb mastery with it. But I think in the grand scheme, I think this ultimately is the better in slot, right? And then for that, for my mods here, explosion radius, huge. Grenade drop chance, obviously great for more grenades. And then more grenade damage on crazed enemies, because that is our theme. And of course, it is a venom affliction. The other thing about this grenade is it is a cluster type grenade. So what that means is when it hits, it then spawns off a bunch of child grenades that also explode, right? That you'll see when I go through the skill tree is very awesome for us, because that kind of doubles, triples, quadruples down on all of our abilities that have, like, when an enemy is hit with a grenade, chance to do something, right? It kind of doubles and triples down on that versus just the bang grenade where it's just a one-time click, right? And then whatever proc chances you have to happen at that time, versus this where you can really just get a ton of different enemy hit with grenade bonuses. So really, really good there. What else was I going to say about this one? I guess that's pretty much it. Oh, and the other thing is, of course, the other upside is you can carry 4 of them with Harley versus just the one with the bang grenade. All right. Coming over to our shield mod, again, just a Bane piece here. Crit hit chance. I took a little health there. You'll notice I do spec into quite a bit of survivability in this build, just because you don't really need too much pure damage. You're just going to be going crazy with grenades, just throwing them nonstop. So even if your damage is maybe slightly lower than your friend's damage, you're just never going to stop throwing grenades and going absolutely crazy. So it's really okay to take a little bit of a hit there just because it's so free flowing. And then affliction resource from enemy kills. That's important. I also have that on Two-Face. I have affliction resource for melee hits. Like I said, we're going to be definitely meleeing because we've got, chance to spawn grenade, and chance to spawn grenade and chance to craze on melee hit. That also includes shield harvesting, right? And then affliction resource, we want to be building up that affliction so we can then use our affliction strike as often as possible to be applying more craze and getting more stacks of, Bane's Wrath, Bane's Rage, all that stuff, right? So that's where I'm going with the shield. For the traversal mod, I'm going with the skilled landings and ground slides have a chance of dropping, that's 100% chance, of dropping a live grenade at your feet. This can only occur once every 20 seconds. This is just a nice to have. Basically, when you land, if you slide or if you just jump again immediately, it will just spawn a grenade right on top of you. So it's just nice to kind of have that extra grenade. It can only occur every 20 seconds, but it's still fine. And I'm only using this because there is no Bane slot in the traversal slot, and there's really, just from what I've seen, this is probably the best option. There's really no notorious piece that I think would be better in the traversal slot. So to me, I think the skilled landings and just extra grenades. So of course I've just got damage, traversal attack damage we don't really care about, but I didn't see a better perk while I was re-rolling it, so that's what I'm using there. For the neck bomb, again, a Bane piece, extra damage to grunt enemies, squad ultimate duration. You don't have to have that, but I thought it was pretty cool. I was kind of testing that out with another perk that gave squad ultimate gain on melee hit. So you would throw a grenade and basically just get your squad ultimate right back and then have extra duration on it. I thought it was a pretty cool build. Ultimately, it wasn't better than what I think I have now, but certainly could be used in a different build. And then, of course, damage to crazed enemies. You got to have it. And then for the Lucky Charm, I got Pickup Radius, which can be really nice for grenades, especially if grenades are dropping here or there. You want to be able to grab them up. Grenade drop chance, again, just making sure we're topped off, and then of course more damage to crazed enemies. I do think that this is for the most part the best in slot of each of these for this exact build that I'm doing, so I'll definitely save this as a loadout. I don't think there's really much I would change here other than just getting master versions of each of these. And of course, for the melee slot and the grenade slot, you want Venom Frenzy, and of course max it out for supercharge. And that's pretty much it as far as the gear. So going over the talents, for the most part, they build themselves. There's a few different things that I take that you might not take. But I've got a little extra shield capacity on Untouchable. Some of these, I'll just pass over the ones that you can't change. I use On the Hop. You could use one of these grapple attacks or increase damage while using the Bat Drone. I like the damage reduction. It's while airborne or while using the Bat Drone. I think that's pretty useful, in my personal opinion. You can actually stack up quite a bit of damage reduction when you get a high combo, which we will. You'll see in just a second. Coming over here, this one's a no-brainer, right? Grenade explosion radius by 20%, which includes the little clusters. So your grenades are going to be hitting quite a bit. And we also have extra radius on our actual grenade itself. And then +1 grenade capacity, fantastic, right? So we're always going to have more grenades to throw. This one I use handy hand cannons. Like I said, I primarily use the SMG, but I don't find that this perk is really that good, to be perfectly honest with you. For the most part, we don't care about our melee damage. We're meleeing just to get the triggers of, crazing enemies, dropping live grenades, things like that, but we don't care about the damage itself. So for this one, the 100% chance to cause enemies to bleed for 40% of the damage, I thought this was okay, just because, like I said, I only really use my pistol when I need to kill like a faraway target like a sniper, or I'm shooting a helicopter, right? And I'm obviously shooting it in that little purple crit spot. So to me, this is just going to get those out of the way faster, right? So just between the two, I didn't see the value in the extra melee hit damage versus being able to just deal with snipers and things like that. All right, coming over here. So grapple, attack, traversal, kills have a 25% chance to drop grenade ammo. That's a no-brainer. We don't really care about our traversal damage, to be completely honest. But the chance to get grenade ammo, it's really just a means of transportation, and then it certainly does damage, right? So we definitely will get some kills and get some extra grenade ammo for it. You don't really need the combo breaker, in my personal opinion. You certainly can if you think you're struggling with it, but I think you'll see, and if you from the gameplay, we build our combo so fast. Even if we lost some of our combo, even if we lost 10 of our combo, it honestly, I'd be shocked. It really doesn't matter. We go pretty much straight back up. Coming over here, so this one's a little interesting. I use damage reduction by 15%. I think that's worth it. This one, like I said, we don't really care too much about the traversal attack. So this is performing a shield harvest, generates 25% traversal attack. It can be good. Like I said, we do shield harvest a lot, but we're just not super invested. I think just a flat damage reduction is better, and that's just me leaning into a little bit more tankiness. But certainly, if you don't think you need it, by all means, go for this one. Same thing here. I think this self-care one is not that good. It doesn't seem like it's really not a lot of health and shield for me personally for every enemy killed. So I go with this one. This one is just absolutely insane for our build. Hitting 3 or more enemies with a grenade generates 3 combo, and there's no cooldown on this, right? And like I said, you got the grenade, then you got the child grenades that spawn. So if you have kind of a crowd of enemies, you throw it in there, it's going to be clustering and hitting all sorts of guys. And then each of them that it hits, you're going to get 3 combo. I mean, you can go from 0 to 50 combo, like literally in one grenade. So if you hit the right sweet spot crowd of enemies, it's really sick. And then coming here, this is the best perk on the skill tree for this build in the whole thing. Cherry Bomb. Grenade hits have a 25% chance to spawn an additional live grenade. So like I mentioned, when you do kind of throw one, so especially with the Panadura cocktail, it's a cluster grenade, right? So it's going to spawn those child grenades, and then every single one of those will have a chance to, 25% chance to spawn an additional live grenade. So again, you throw it into a crowd, and it's just gonna bubble and bubble and bubble, right? If it hits, every single one of them hits, a number of people, and then every one of the clusters hits a number of people. Some of them are going to trigger this, right? And then that's even more that are going to do it. So it's just going to keep clustering. If you did use the bang grenade, you can still obviously do this, and you'll get like maybe 2 or 3 if you throw it in a crowd, which is cool to see. It looks awesome. But for me, I think the Panadura cocktail definitely works better with this. These don't change. What's next? So this one here, there really wasn't a great choice here. I just went with a grapple a day. They all kind of suck for us, but it was the best one. This one, Powder Keg. So you don't really need this one, if I'm being honest, but it's just better than Keep 'em Coming. We don't care about melee damage. Enemies hit with your grenade deal 25% less damage for 15 seconds. It's fine on like brutes and stuff. Most things will just die, so you don't have to worry too much, but it's the better of the two. And then coming over here, enemies hit by your grenades take 20% more damage. Now this one, you could really... I was back and forth on this one. This one's one of the tougher ones. So when performing a shield harvest, which we do, increase the damage of your next grenade by 50% versus enemies hit by your grenades take 20% more damage for 10 seconds. Both of them are damage increases. It's tough to say exactly which one is better, but I think specifically for using the cluster grenade, it's the Grenade Paradise, because that 20% is gonna apply to all of the clusters that come off it as well. And it's just a more universal perk. You're not always guaranteed, even though we do shield harvest a lot, you're not always guaranteed. And sometimes you throw like 2 grenades at a time, right? You throw like one here, one there with the cluster. The shield harvest, if you did shield harvest, it's only going to apply to the first one, whereas this 20% is going to apply to everything. So I think this is the better of them. If you're using the bang grenade, this might be a little better for you for just that singular explosion. But for my shekels, I'm going with the Grenade Paradise. All right, and then coming over here, Squad Ultimate, that's easy. Performing a shield harvest gives you 20% chance to increase Suicide Strike by 250%. That's pretty strong. It's definitely better than the Tightrope Act. Unless the only thing about the Tightrope Act, if you're playing like hardcore killing time, or you're just maybe struggling with survivability in general, you can certainly go with it. To me, this is really good because you'll notice from the gameplay, we do a Suicide Strike quite a bit, and you'll see it's actually the next talent on the tree that causes that. And it's really good for that single target damage, right? So like I said, this is kind of a crowd control build for the most part. But there are going to be brutes, there are going to be higher health enemies. being able to suicide strike them with a massive increase in suicide strike damage, certainly very helpful. But if you're struggling with survivability, or like I said, obviously if you're playing in hardcore, this is a must take. And then coming over here, Clown Smackdown. This is a fantastic skill, definitely the one to take. Every enemy kill gives you 10% more suicide strike resource, so you're going to be constantly doing these suicide strikes pretty much nonstop while you're throwing grenades. So really, really sweet one to have there. And then coming over here now, this was an interesting choice, and this is just Trix's preference here. A lot of people would probably just immediately go to the ballerina without even thinking. For me, because grenades are our primary source, it's only 50%, right? And firearm damage, okay, that's fine. And then melee damage, we don't really care about. So for me, I think this is the one to go with. 30% damage reduction is insane, and pair that on top of the 15% we already get, plus the 20% while we're in the air. That's a massive damage reduction, right? Plus 100% shield capacity, which is huge. And then shield harvest chance. Like I mentioned, shield harvest is very important for us. When we're shield harvesting, we're going to be guaranteed dropping grenades, right? We're going to be guaranteed, getting all sorts of bonuses. So for me, I think this is the better one for this particular build. But, like I said, a lot of people probably just default to ballerina because it says damage. But if you read into it, I don't think it really does as much as we want it to. All right, and then coming over here, I use Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, firearm damage, and grenade. That's better than this. Shield capacity is whatever, but melee damage, not really where we want to be. And then 100% grenade damage and 150% firearm. That's worth it to me, so that's the one I take. And then coming over here, I use the Ultimate Thrill Ride. I don't think you really need the health and shield, but having extra suicide strike damage, like I said, especially while we're in that squad ultimate, which we do have the increased duration on, we can be doing, quite a bit of suicide strike damage, especially you pair it with the old 1-2, right? Hit him with a harvest and then hit him with this while you're in it. You got an easy 500% more damage. You'll be looking good. So that is it. That is the build. I will leave you guys with some gameplay so you can actually see it in action. I think you're going to like it. And, the other thing about this game in general, I think they did a really good job, in my opinion. I'm sure there's plenty. I am sure there are plenty other Harley Quinn builds out there. This is what I'm playing currently. And this is working for me very well, working up the mastery trees. So give it a shot for yourself. Pull the character, you can pull it and have the character on your team. This is definitely going to be a good one to have on your team because it's kind of, even as an NPC, it's kind of a no-brainer. They're just going to be throwing grenades and you're just going to be getting tons and tons of crowd control. But, there are plenty of other Harley builds out there. So this is one, I'm definitely going to save this one as is. Like I said, save it as a loadout, and as things, change, if I get master versions of the stuff I already have in slot, those are the changes I'll make. But for the most part, I think this build is pretty much set in its ways. Definitely working on another Harley build with a totally different gear set, as well as, a deadshot build that I think is going to be really nice. So look out for those. But that is it for me, guys. If you like the build, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already for more build guides, endgame content, all that good stuff. I will leave you guys with just some raw gameplay so you can see the build in action. That is it for me. I'll catch you in the next one.